You are now listening to The Mind of Tommy Bunnz, and this is Black Friday.
Black Friday.
Black Friday.
It is Black Friday.
Peace, family. I'm your host, Tommy Bunnz, and welcome to another episode of Black Friday, the podcast. Give yourselves a warm black hand. All right, yep, man. So much stuff happened this week, man. Dope week for me. Just wrapping up this holiday season, wrapping up this 2015 fiscal year, I should say, or this 2015 calendar year. Had a lot of, wrap-ups to do with, all our clients. Very, very thankful, very, very grateful to be able to do what I love for a living, which is tell stories. And tell stories in a community capacity to where I could be remunerated for my services, and also, make content that's entertaining, inspiring, and educational. So I'm real thankful, man, and it's come back that this year has been a more profitable year for our company than last year. So that means we on the incline. That means it's only going to get better from here. That means that just like Lil Wayne, it ain't no ceilings around this motherfucker, man. It ain't no ceilings. But yeah, man, don't mind the airplanes. If you hear some airplanes flying by, man, got locked out of my studio. And so we recording this podcast in the beautiful confinement of a gold Chevy Impala. And I'm going to just tell you like that. We recording the gold Chevy Impala. That's how gangster we are. The Black Friday podcast. And, we in the middle of Inglewood, nigga. We in a gold Chevy Impala in Inglewood watching the planes fly over, recording the podcast today. So we real gangster today. It's gangster Friday. But nah, enough of the BS, man. Let's jump right into it, man. This week started off hella crazy. LAUSD announced that it had received a credible threat that there was a bomb somewhere at one of the schools in the district. Now, mind you, LAUSD is the second largest school district in the country. It serves over 640,000 students, and in some reports they're saying it's around 700,000 students. So, I mean, that's a lot of young people at risk of, whether it's a credible threat or a not credible threat. And so, man, everybody all morning, man, my mom was calling me, you hear the news, you watching the news? My sisters was calling me, boy, you watching this? This shit is crazy. My nieces and nephews, they all go to LAUSD. My babies, they're not in LAUSD, but they are, they were close to, they do go to school close to downtown LA. And so, I was, me and the queen was just like, man, fuck that. We not sending our kids to school either. Like, Ice is the only one that goes to school. We not sending her to school either. And so I'm just like, nah, I'm cool, man. It's funny, man. Like, in this country, man, I love the First Amendment. I love the fact that we get to come up here and I can have this podcast and I could talk shit about Donald Trump. I could talk shit about Barack Obama if I wanted. I could talk shit about anybody if I wanted to. And the First Amendment protects me again from that. You know what I'm saying? However, it almost opens the door for like everybody to just argue all the time. Like it almost creates a climate where we're constantly arguing about shit. Because, I mean, even something so simple as keeping your kids home for a day, it turned into this big national debate whether or not LAUSD overreacted, whether the parents overreacted and they should have kept their kids in school. Look, man, I know that these schools get money for their ADA, which is the average daily attendance. I know that there's money for every student that, attends class. However, I'm not playing around when it comes to no terrorists and my kids. Now, y'all know from the last couple of episodes, I have skepticism on a lot of things that are so-called, acts of terror that take place in this country. And I have every right to be, because I understand that, COINTELPRO happened. J. Edgar Hoover was behind it. They infiltrated the Black Panther Party. You could research these things. They have FBI released documents that say that these types of things happen. So cover-ups and tactics and covert operations that we don't know happen all the time. You know what I'm saying? The Tuskegee experiment, where black men were given syphilis. as a fucking experiment and as an act of genocide. These types of things actually happen throughout history. So for me, it's not that I'm a conspiracy theorist or I'm always thinking something is not happening. It's just I'm just gonna analyze the facts. I didn't really have nothing to see that this would, I didn't see anything with this LAUSD that said that this was some kind of like, military operation, like they're preparing us for something. It didn't seem like that. This seemed like, they got a threat, a bomb threat. And they even said that they get a lot of threats every week. Like, this is a school district, a large school district. So I'm sure they get a lot of prank calls. They get a lot of people calling in to say, silly stuff. But I'm not taking no chances with my kids. I'm not going to argue with any parent that decided that, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to keep my kid home. I'll take the day off. I was on Facebook and I was like, man, every parent of every LAUSD student should be given a paid, holiday vacation day today. And it shouldn't go towards your overall count either. Like, because these are the type of situations that, you just can't play with. And it was so many parents that had to come back, get off the freeway, drive all the way back to their kids' school and pick them up and then take them all the way back home and then try to find a way to get back to work. That's such a huge inconvenience. I felt like, folks should have just been given the day off, which I'm sure lots of folks did get the day off. And there was a lot of companies that stepped up and, just really embraced what was happening and said, you know what, we're gonna open our doors. We're going to offer up services, and we're going to contribute to, the safety of our kids. Big shout out to MTA. They announced that, for that day, they gave all the students of LAUSD with a proper ID, they gave them free bus rides for the day. I thought that was dope. The LA Contemporary Museum of Art, they opened their doors to LAUSD students over this week, and they also said all LAUSD students will get free admission into the museum, because I thought that was dope too. It's like, we have a day off. You don't want all these kids just walking around the streets of LA, with nothing to do. It's like, go to the museum, go check out some art. I thought that was fly. And they even granted them access into the new exhibit or the new portion of the museum that they have. So I thought that was real solid on behalf of those two companies that I saw. I was watching Bridge of Spies last week, and obviously I'm a huge fan of Steven Spielberg, and I'm a huge fan of Janusz Kaminski's cinematography. And so it was just like, I was just waiting to see how they was going to incorporate the blown out windows into a Cold War spy movie. And they did, of course, and it looked amazing. It was dope. And I was fascinated by Steven Spielberg's attention to detail, as always, but especially in a spy movie where, the codes have to be, the codes and the language is a lot more subtle, because, obviously you can't make these big broad moves, when you're trying to be covert. But I'm saying, in this movie, Tom Hanks's character has a son, and his son, after hysteria, breaks out that there's a Russian spy in America and there's an American spy that's down in Russia, and now, what's going to happen between the two countries, the Cold War panic ensued, you know what I'm saying? And so you have a lot of students in class that are learning about what to do in the case of an atomic bomb. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, this has got to be an incredibly scary time to live in. You know what I'm saying? Just imagine, seeing the devastation of what an atomic bomb does. And there's a scene in there, not to try to spoil it for anybody who may want to go see it, but there's definitely a scene where they show you what the devastation of an atomic bomb looks like. And you see these kids looking at this atomic bomb explosion, and it's like, it's the most captivating thing that they've ever seen. However, the narrator who's describing what they're seeing has this real nonchalant kind of like colloquial type of, just attitude towards, the devastation, the real devastation that this atomic bomb, brings when it destructs, when it, detonates. And so to me, I'm just like, damn, have we gotten to a space where now we have to start preparing our kids for active shooter drills, or telling our kids about what to do in the event that somebody comes to the school with a gun and they start shooting and shit. And I posted that question on Facebook, and the homie had hit me back and was like, man, my daughter's school is already doing active shooter drills. And I was just like, dude, this is crazy. Like, we live in a world where, now it used to be earthquake drills and fire drills where we get under the table and, we file a single file line and we all walk out into the middle of the field, and it turns into this big thing where, you get to see the homies out in the field and everybody want to act silly. They might even let us hang out there. If it's a real emergency, they might let us hang out and we can start playing flag football with the sideline pop. How many of y'all niggas know about flag football with the sideline pop, nigga? or the 3-second hold because they wouldn't let us do tackle. It's this whole new phenomenon, this terrorism element, that we have to now introduce to our kids. And, I don't think that American kids should be sheltered. I think that American kids should definitely know what's going on in the world around them, especially when you see that, there's children in the Middle East who if they don't got a gun in their hand now or a bomb strapped to their chest now, then there's definitely a strong awareness as to what's going on in the climate in the world. I mean, obviously, when I look around, I see apartments and houses and nice cars and paved roads and, street signs, and I see civilization. I see a modern civilization. You know what I'm saying? It may not be the most aesthetically pleasing or the most beautiful city or the most beautiful community or the most beautiful roads or the most beautiful apartments and houses. However, I'm not looking at ruins. I'm not looking at, buildings that were once there that are now blown to bits, and it just looks like a dystopian, a post-apocalyptic world. I'm not looking at that every day. It's a lot of young children that are my daughter's age or that would be in LAUSD if they were in LA County who experience that every day. And so, on one hand, I'm very, very, very grateful of the privilege that we have here being in this country. But also it is sad that, my kids have to, now deal with the reality that there's this terrorism element that's taking place in this country right now. And it's sweeping the narrative, it's sweeping the country. Like, Obama is trying to let everybody know, like, look, man, you don't have to worry about ISIS. However, you have the counterparts at Fox who are consistently pumping the agenda that, the Islamic terrorists are here, they're plotting things, and they're promoting this narrative of fear, this fear propaganda, because, it serves their agenda. They want to go back into war because war is such a huge business industry, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm sure it's a lot more complex than just, going to war for money, but it's also gaining access to territories. It's also making sure that, the Iranian government is run by the people that we want to run the government. It's also, just increasing our stronghold on the Middle East when it comes to our alliance with Israel and their civil war with Palestine. So we have a lot of vested interest into the Middle East, which is why we would continue to promote this narrative of terrorism. So, it's crazy, man. I still say salute to LAUSD. You made the right decision. Our kids are our most important asset at the end of the day, and protecting our children at all costs is something that, I'm never going to stand on the opposite side, regardless of, whether it was a credible source or a non-credible source or not, or whatever. New York had a similar threat at the same time, the same day, and they chose to allow their school doors to remain open. Now, that's a choice, that they would have had to live with had something had happened. Now, thank God nothing happened, but that's where this big debate came from, because New York public school system said, we're not going to cower in fear. We're going to keep our kids in school. But the FBI also, let them know that it wasn't a credible threat. It came back later that the FBI said that it wasn't a credible threat for the LAUSD threat that was received. However, the LAUSD was just like, man, we ain't playing no games. And most of the parents was just like, I don't care if it's credible or not. I'm not playing around. Y'all doing press conferences. It's breaking news. I'm just go ahead and keep my kids at home and explain to them what's going on. And, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So shout out to LAUSD. I'm a student at LAUSD. I was, in LAUSD for the first, I would say, from preschool all the way up to 6th grade before I moved to Hawthorne and became a South Bay boy. So, shout out to LAUSD, keeping our kids safe. I salute y'all. Shout out to the Mexican government, man. Finally, during the colonial slave trade, nearly 200,000 African people were brought into Mexico as slaves. And Mexico has had a strong history of slave rebellions that occurred there. And as in other parts of the Americas, with the first in Veracruz in 1537, runaway slaves were called cimarrones, who mostly fled to the highlands between Veracruz and Puebla, with the number making their way to the Costa Chica region in what are now Guerrero and Osaka. Runaways in Veracruz formed settlements called palenques, which would fight off the Spanish authorities. The most famous of these was led by Gaspar Yanga, who fought the Spanish for 40 years until the Spanish recognized their autonomy in 1608, making San Lorenzo de los Negros the first community of free blacks in the Americas. This week, Mexico has for the first time recognized its 1.38 million Afro-Mexican population. Since the 1910 Mexican Revolution, people of African descent have not been documented. The Latin American nation has maintained a national identity which ignored the descendants of African slaves while acknowledging those who came from a mixed background of indigenous peoples and Spanish colonizers. Mexico and Chile have been the only Latin American nations to exclude its black population from their constitution. And so they've taken it upon themselves to go ahead and recognize black folks. That's a step in the right direction. Peace to all my brothers and sisters of African descent that's down in Mexico and the Americas around. We gotta share the love with our brothers and sisters around the globe. So big up to Mexico for that. Yeah, you hear that. So you already know, man. I haven't seen it yet, but the whole world is up in arms about Star Wars. And Goldman Sachs reported that Star Wars is estimated to make about $14 billion in overall sales, in total sales, once this whole thing is done. And that's $6 billion at the box office and about $8 billion in merch. To me, that this is why I tell people that, if you want to get into a real solid industry, you might as well get into the film industry, man, because it's really recession proof. We've gone through economic crisis, we've gone through wars, and the movie business has done nothing but grow over the last 15, 20 years, man. Easily the film had already, by Thursday and Friday, Star Wars had already made over $150 million at the box office. And it's going to surpass Marvel as the largest opening weekend ever. It's definitely going to make over $1 billion. Disney bought the rights to Lucasfilms and the Star Wars franchise for about $4 billion. So, if Goldman Sachs is right, or even if Goldman Sachs is in the ballpark and they make about $10 billion, they've already doubled their money. And this is just this one Star Wars series. This is a whole new opportunity for a whole new series of Star Wars films. So you have 7, 8, 9, 10. Then you have offshoots. Then you have commercials. Then you have, not commercials, but then you have cartoons. Then you have video games. So this Star Wars franchise is going to produce huge dividends for Disney in the long run. And like I said, this might by far be the largest rollout for a film that I've ever personally seen. Every late night TV show, every commercial, every bus, every billboard, morning news program, internet ad, and YouTube channel has been inundated with the George Lucas mythological tale of good and evil. And, my pops was a huge Star Wars fan, and I was raised watching 4, 5, and 6. My boy Johnny and I used to watch it all the time at his crib, and I remember I wasn't really off it at first. Until I really watched it and, began to understand its complexity and how it wasn't just space and special effects. It was really about, what I came to eventually learn, which was called the hero's journey. And being called to do something for a cause greater than yourself, facing defeat, and in the face of it, tapping into that greatest and deepest part of yourself to overcome those obstacles and bring forth a new balance and a newfound understanding of yourself and what your purpose is in life. Joseph Campbell, rest in peace, a big inspiration of mine when it comes to writing screenplays and just writing stories in general. He understands, being a longtime anthropologist, he understood the nature of storytelling. He understood the nature of how stories are told and where these stories originate from in the consciousness of man, in the zeitgeist of mankind. We deal with these themes and these ideas, and then we mask them in clothes or different time periods, but over time we begin to learn that we're telling the same story over and over again. It's just the characters are wearing a different costume. And he's got a book called I think it's called The Thousand Masks of God, and then he's got a book where he interviewed with Bill Moyer, and what was that called? The Power of Myth. My boy A.A. Rashid, peace to the God, he blessed me with that book, and when back in 2010, I believe, we was kicking it, and he gifted me that book and was telling me that this was the key to unlock the potential of my craft, and I couldn't thank that brother enough for giving me that book. He done gave me a lot of books. He done gave me hundreds of books throughout our friendship. But that book right there is probably one of my favorite books to read. It's just filled with so much knowledge about, not just how to write stories, but just about the history of cultures throughout time and throughout history, and how you see that there's a through line and a parallel between all of these stories and all of these cultures and all of these people, because we ultimately at our core we all deal with the same issues: the issue of loss, the issue of love, the quest for understanding, the quest for purpose, the quest for guidance, a rite of passage, a coming of age. When is it? When is the line between being a child and an adult? Where is that line drawn, and how do we celebrate children who cross the threshold from childhood into adulthood? Like these type of stories we see over and over and over again. And Joseph Campbell, he tapped into that. He recognized that, and he wrote a lot of books on this phenomenon. He's even got another book called Hero with 1,000 Faces that I think folks should go out and get. So those are 3 books that from Joseph Campbell that you can go out and get. The Masks of God, The Many Masks of God, Hero with 1,000 Faces, and The Power of Myth. If you're interested in learning more about myth and how mythology has been the cornerstone of not even just Western theology, but just even Eastern theology, Eastern philosophy. Mythology has been the backbone and the foundation of the stories that we tell ourselves and tell our children. Even biblical stories are all based on the mythological system of understanding the world and the universe. So check out Joseph Campbell. But I mentioned Joseph Campbell because he was a mentor to George Lucas, and he taught George Lucas about the concept of the hero's journey, the power of mythology. And so George Lucas took what he learned from Joseph Campbell and created the Star Wars universe. And the Star Wars universe is this hugely expansive universe where there's so many worlds, there's so many different people, but it's all held together on the fabric of this mystical energy called the Force. And there's a good side and a bad side. Obviously, y'all know what Star Wars is. But I love the idea of how the film has been rebooted, how it's 30 years into the past. Well, it's 30 years after the fall of the Galactic Empire, and now a new the First Order, or this new organization of terror has emerged, and they're trying to rule the galaxy, and it's up to the Resistance and the help of Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Princess Leia and some new talent and some new faces to restore balance to the Force and prevent the First Order from taking over. That's all I really know, but I can't wait to see it. me and the homies, we definitely gonna go see it. We're gonna see it a couple times probably. I definitely want to see it in IMAX 3D, 70 millimeter. Gotta see it in its full expansive experience, how it's supposed to be seen. And I'm gonna see it regular. I'm gonna see it as many ways as I can. I'm probably gonna go in there, twist something up, and speak to the ancestors and allow the film to counsel and see how that go. But I mean, I think this will probably be the best Star Wars since Return of the Jedi, because they've obviously, for one, got J.J. Abrams, who originally turned the film down out of fear of being considered the guy who's only known for sequels. And he said, I wanted people to feel the magic of what Star Wars was, the sense of romance, the sense of heart, loyalty, sweetness, the friendship, the unexpected scenarios, the discoveries the characters make, the sense of impossible scale made possible. I also love the fact that J.J. Abrams it made it very, very... he was very intentional with how he wanted to approach the film, with blending the new technology like George Lucas did in the past, but also keeping practical sets, really rebuilding the Millennium Falcon, really building these practical sets to provide that level of realism, because you could green screen the entire movie and it would all be digital and it looked great, like Avatar, it looked great, but there was nothing really too practical about it to where you could physically interface with the world, and it seemed like it was all cohesive in one solid reality. I love the fact that he went back and said, you know what, I'm gonna just go ahead and keep it kind of like how George Lucas had it in the beginning. So big up to J.J. Abrams for that. Everybody go out. I know you're going to see Star Wars at some point in time because, it's just all over the world. But I can't wait to see what Star Wars is talking about. Moving on. This week in hip-hop, man. I ended last week talking about Smino and Monte Booker's new EP, Black Jupiter, which slaps out of this world. No pun. I also got a chance to listen to that new 50, that new Rick Ross, that new Fabulous, and that new Pusha T. I have been listening to that Money Making Mitch. What else have I been listening to? I haven't listened to that No Ceilings 2. I'm not really off Wayne. I got it, but I'm not really juiced to listen to it. I'm not really interested in listening to Lil Wayne's music right now. Everything that I've been hearing from Lil Wayne in the past has sucked ass. And I just, how many times you gonna give somebody an opportunity to disappoint you? I'd rather hear from everybody else that, yo, that new No Ceilings 2 is slapping, dog. Listen to it. Before I actually say, you know what, I'm going to go out of my way to listen to it. It's like nobody wants to see a retired player who's had their run come back and play again. Like, I wouldn't be interested in seeing Jordan play at 50. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. Like, I would be thinking that he would be doing this shit just to satisfy his own ego, not because of the fact that he can actually compete at the highest level. I wouldn't want to see Jordan compete at a level unlike Jordan. Tim Duncan ain't the Tim Duncan of his rookie year. Kobe ain't the Kobe, of his prime. They're on a decline, but yet and still they're still in the game. However, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, okay, I'm not really tripping off watching Kobe play. I was excited that Kobe got that dunk the other day. Me and KD was talking about it. He was just like, man, I just want to see him dunk on somebody. And dude actually did it. So I tagged him and shit was crazy. Yeah, if you hear that rumble, man, that is my stomach rumbling right now. It's early in the morning and my queen ain't made breakfast yet. So I'm out here starving, working, hungry.
There's a hunger inside you.
Dad, I can do it. I can do it.
Snickers Bar, the official snack food sponsor of the 1992 U.S. Olympic team. Packed with fresh roasted peanuts, thick milk chocolate, and caramel, Snickers satisfies the hunger inside you.
There's a hunger inside.
Dad, I did it.
Hunger inside you.
But no, I haven't listened to the No Ceilings 2. I'm not off it. That 50 tape, the Kanan tape, was trash bags. Get that shit out of here. Rich men rapping about selling drugs has got to get old at some point. Like, damn, nigga, you are not selling drugs, man. Stop talking about that stupid shit, man. It don't even sound believable. KRS-One said something very profound about the concept of, once you become rich and you still trying to rap. I'm gonna play that right now.
The new school has more money today than we do. That's the difference. We were poorer then. That's the difference. But that's how hip hop was created. You cannot be rich and continue to produce raw hip hop.
So in terms of music, what would you say the old school had that the new school doesn't have?
We have art, creativity, genuineness, authenticity. The youth today, the majority, are not seeking authenticity because the society in which they live doesn't ask them to be authentic. It asks them to be other people, to model roles. It asks them to do that. It doesn't ask them to be themselves because there's consequences to being yourself. So our young people don't be themselves, and as a result, they follow whatever trend is out there. And as a result, hopefully you follow a good trend that lasts. But if you follow a lot of these trends, they don't last.
So yeah, that 50 tape was trash. Get that out of here. Black Market is cool. I listened to the Rick Ross. Black Market is cool. I like it a lot. I remember at first I was kind of cool on Ross because when I first heard about dude, he was talking about that Rick Ross shit. Like, he was Rick Ross. And if being from LA, the only Rick Ross that I know is Free Red Ricky Ross. And so when this dude was talking about his name was Rick Ross and he was selling drugs and shit, I'm just like, this is some gimmick shit. You stealing the whole man in prison's identity. Then the nigga gets out of jail, sues the dude. So I'm just like, I'm not really listening to you've already lost me with this caricature shit that you've created. But, the homie was telling me about how dope his production selection was, and I started listening. I was like, you know what, he do pick some bangers. I can't front and say that the dude don't know how to pick solid beats. His beats be banging. And so I followed along, here and there. I don't listen to everything that he puts out, but I try to listen to what he's doing. It doesn't really change. You don't really hear no growth in the music. But this particular project, you do hear him a lot more reflective. He is a lot more, introspective on this project, and I respected it. And he's got some slappers on there. I was actually impressed. His bars are cool. I'm not really listening to Rick Ross for the bars, but he do got some joints on there that really, really go. The opening track, Free Enterprise, is crazy. One of Us with Nas is crazy, probably the best song on the album. Crocodile Python was banging. Black Opium with Primo, that was crazy. Foreclosures is dope. And Money Dance is dope. So that's like 6 out of 17. So, hey, you go 6 out of 17. I mean, that ain't bad, but for me, what makes a good album for me is when half of the music is good. When you can go 50%, if you got 12 songs, 6 of them are banging. To me, that's what solidifies a good, solid project. But you see, this is another thing, but this could also explain, like, if you going 6 for 17, like, you throwing up bricks, you know what I'm saying? You throwing up a lot of bricks. You throwing up 11 bricks for 6 buckets. That's not very good in a climate where people aren't really that geek to pay for music. So, it kind of explains why his album saw like a 73% decrease on sales the second week, and he only resulted in 57,000 sales the first week. Now, 57,000 sales is pretty solid in this particular music climate for hip hop. But when you think about Rick Ross, he always compares himself to the greats. Like, he's on a song with Dre, Jay-Z as 3 kings, right? He puts himself on the top tiers of hip hop. Even though, if you ask me, he's not even in my top 25 all time. He's not even my top 100 probably. Like, I can think of 100 rappers that I probably like, or that are probably that are better than Rick Ross. However, he's mastered marketing himself and mastered creating this persona that he is a top tier MC. And so I would expect dude to at least sell 100,000 copies in the first week. That's what all the top tier MCs in the game do, right? I mean, he ain't got to sell 500,000 in a week. He ain't even got to sell 200,000, but you got to at least break 100,000 to even consider yourself somebody that's at that particular level. But he only did 57,000 in sales. you know, and it explains it. You know what I mean? You throwing up bricks. You threw up 11 bricks, man. You know, and me and the homie Shaw Jones, we be talking about this all the time. Like, dudes need to stop putting out 17 songs, man. Stop giving up 17 songs. Give people like 9-10 songs, and or you know 8 to 10 songs, man. Stop giving up so much music, because you can take those 8 songs. If you got 17 songs, you could break that into 2 projects. And then cut the price on the project. People don't want to spend $13.99 every fucking day. It's so much music. It's so many artists that people are checking for. There's no way in hell if hip hop audiences satisfied their thirst to purchase every rapper's album that came out, you'd be spending tens, 20s of thousands. You'd spend more money on music than you would spend on your living expenses. And that's just retarded. But that's just telling us that it's way too much music in the marketplace. So that's why you're getting a lot of people not buying albums. People are rather download them. People are rather stream it, which counts towards the artist. But people just can't buy all of the music. You know what I'm saying? It's just way too much. But I think if these cats did lower their prices, you know what I'm saying? If these cats lowered their prices to like, you know, $5 a record, you know, $10.99 a record, and not even $10.99, like $5, $6 a record, I think that they could see a lot more boost in their sales, because now that 57,000 in sales is going to 57,000 sales is going to turn into, you know, that'll turn into 100,000, you know, once you drop the price in half. So I think that that's what they should do. That Rick Ross is tight, man. But that was another one that I listened to. The Rick Ross is fire. I listened to that Jadakiss. That Jadakiss is dope. It's one of Jadakiss' best albums in a while. He went back to the old formula, getting Swiss Beats out there, fucking with Diddy. You know, he really went in and stayed in that Jadakiss pocket. And I was impressed, man. I really, really liked that record. Fabs was cool. You know, I've never really been a Fabulous fan, so I'm probably ain't the best person to speak on Fabulous, but it sounded like summertime Fabulous music. Like it sounded like the shit that Fabulous always put out. So I don't think he's necessarily disappointing the fans. I think people was probably cool with it. But it, you know, it's just not really my thing. You know, he do got those dope New York beats. Fab gonna stay in his pocket just like Jadakiss stay in his pocket. Pusha T, man, I think Pusha T has probably one of the dopest albums of 2015. This record from Pusha T is definitely gonna be nominated for some Grammys next year. If not, it's gonna be some problems. He just got, you know, the promotion to become president of Good Music. And in one of his tracks, he talking about that's a $250,000 a year little situation that don't bounce. You know what I mean? Adidas gave him that $1 million that don't bounce. So get your money, my brother. I really rock with this album. These beats he's got some of the illest production of the year. His beat production is killing To Pimp a Butterfly. It's killing J. Cole's beats. This dude, he's spazzing. And his bars he got serious bars. Like he be dropping crazy bars. This Pusha record is dope. I'm thoroughly impressed. He's got 10 songs. Like I said, he came with the ill formula. He came with the smart formula. Putting out 10 songs. They all bang. This is a record that 10 songs out of 10 I gave him 10. You know what I'm saying? If they were still doing the 5 mics thing, I think he would get like four mics. But this is crazy. Like his album is retarded. It's the first album in a long time that I've actually liked every song all the way through. Now it's not a concept album, however, he does kind of set up the premise that he's gonna jump in between these conversations about where he stands on certain issues. It's like the double speak phenomenon that's going on that I've talked about before. Like, Schoolboy Q's oxymoron, habits and contradictions, Kush and Corinthians, like this whole duality, but it's more so playing on the fact that, we're both, good and evil, and you exist in both of those particular spaces, which I agree with. I just feel like, with the music, music is people are a lot more susceptible to messages. So, you can not necessarily censor yourself, but you can spit more positive than you do your negative, right? Or whatever you want to classify as positive or negative or conscious or ignorant, whatever. So Pusha sets that framework up where he's talking about what the government is doing and what the lies that they telling and how they trying to keep us down and the police. And then he counters that with also, let's not forget, I'm a dope boy, and that's how I got into this game. Ask Pharrell about me. I done push white. Call me Pablo Escobar. You know what I mean? He makes a lot of the drug references. So he plays on that whole, the conscious ignorance, like my homeboy SC talks about all the time. And, to me, like, I guess, that's the paradigm that we in hip hop, is that, you don't necessarily have to choose a side of the force. You can just kind of like exist between both sides. You can kind of like straddle the fence. But I mean, if you ask me, man, you got to choose a side, man. I ain't saying that, everybody's going to be completely 100% conscious or positive or saying something that's got something inspiring or uplifting to say or something just decent to say all the time, because please believe, I mean, I'm the same way. I'm gonna talk shit about people, and then I'm gonna try to like say something that's got some substance to it. But however, if you liken it to a diet, I mean, you gonna want to eat the chili cheese fries. I mean, come on, man. Them chili cheese fries from Astro Burger with the carne asada and the grilled onions, ain't nothing really fucking with that, low key. However, you know that you need to have a lot more green in your diet. You need to eat a lot more foods. You need to eat a lot more foods that are alive. You need to drink a lot more water. You need to put the right things into your body that's going to help you perform at the best levels, right? But I feel like as long as your diet is dominated by the good things or the stuff of value, of nutritional value, I think that you put yourself on the right side of time. You know what I mean? And in the right side of goodness and love and positivity and shit like that, when it's dominated by that. So I don't mind the occasional, niggas talking slick. I don't mind that. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, and I really wouldn't mind it at all if rappers were a lot more honest with the fact that they are telling stories, as opposed to like saying like, this is who I am. Saying, alluding to the fact that, like, this is a story. Let's not get it twisted. I'm going to tell you a story about some shit that was going on. That doesn't necessarily have to mean that I'm the guy responsible for it. A lot of rappers like to take credit for doing shit that's detrimental and destructive to our communities, but get mad when folks talk shit about them, or, want to then try to say like, oh, the government this, the government that. Like, I'm not really cool with niggas kind of like trying to double speak. You can't tell me about how you used to sell my uncle's crack and got him and his wife divorced, made, his relationship with his kids estranged, and you ruined his fucking brain because of all the fucking crack he was smoking. You ruined his life, and we should praise you for it, or we should look at you as like you some kind of like cool, hip, street nigga. But then at the same time, you want to talk about what the government ain't doing, or what the government is doing, or what the police is doing. Like now you got the right to speak on behalf of the people. You can't speak on behalf of the people and then speak on behalf of the drug dealers that's killing the people too. It's called double speak. And I can't trust niggas like that. Message. Speaking of rap and hip hop, I want to finish off on this because I think that this is such a fucking interesting story, and how this all take place, how it's all like kind of like transpired in the last week or so, has just been for the storybooks. There's a gentleman by the name of Martin Shkreli, right? And this dude, if you aren't familiar, he's the CEO of Turing Pharmaceuticals. And Turing Pharmaceuticals, under his leadership, they decided that they were going to purchase a really old pill that I think it's called Diaprim, and it's an HIV medication. It's given to HIV patients, and the pill, before they purchased it, was about $13.50 per pill on the market, And after they purchased this pill, they inflated the prices 5,000% and raised the price to about $750 a pill. So the pill went from $13.50 to $750 per pill. And now, don't get me wrong, like, let's not forget, this is a potentially life-saving medication. People use this medication on a day-to-day basis to live their lives with the disease that they have. And so obviously you have a lot of people who can't afford the $13.50 per pill regimen. And so just imagine $750 for a pill. How many people are going to die because of that? So this dude, Martin Shkreli, became one of the most hated men in America. And he probably still is one of the most hated men in America. And he went on Hip Hop DX or allhiphop.com, Hip Hop DX, one of those blogs, hip hop blogs, and talked about his love and fascination with Wu-Tang Clan, and also his love and fascination with hip hop music. And he said that he was going to bail out Bobby Shmurda. So he was going to post the dude's $2 million bail. He was real adamant about it. He said that he comes from the same place that he comes from, and you know, the dude is just really like, he understands where he's coming from. He understands that, obviously, too, that it's a business deal. And so dude is going to be worth a lot more out of jail once he comes out. And so putting that $2 million up, Bobby's going to have to definitely work for him and, you know, put some records out and recoup those costs. So it wasn't not necessarily because of the fact that he liked Bobby Shmurda as a person or he thought that he was innocent or anything like that. He just more so capitalizing off of an opportunity to make some money off of a popular hip hop artist. He also is the person who bought the Once Upon a Time in Shaolin album from the Wu-Tang Clan, the $2 million album. And he had a conversation with RZA. He said they sat down, talked for about 45 minutes. RZA didn't really reveal too much to him about, you know, himself. I guess he thought he wanted to have a serious relationship with RZA because, and respect, because he spent $2 million on the Once Upon a Time in Shaolin record. But I think RZA kind of like, you know, read him and realized who he was dealing with and was just like, all right, yeah, this old cornball ass white boy, you know, want to spend $2 million, but this is the same dude that's out here, you know, fucking people over who's got, you know, life-threatening diseases and shit. Fuck this nigga. You know, I'm not going to turn down the $2 million, but at the same time, like, I don't expect no friendship from me. You know, I guess RZA maybe didn't know at the time that they had that meeting, but it came out that you know, Shkreli was the dude responsible for purchasing that HIV drug, and RZA kind of like felt some kind of way about it. And Shkreli went back to, you know, Hip Hop DX and did another exclusive interview and was just like talking shit to RZA. You know what I'm saying? He was like really talking shit. Like he's really full-fledged with the bullshit. And it's so funny. He was like,
I'm definitely the real fucking deal. This is not a act. I threatened that guy and his fucking kids because he fucking took $3 million from me. I had 2 guys parked outside of his house for 6 months watching his every fucking move. I get down. I don't think RZA knows that. I think he thinks I'm some powder puff white guy CEO that's got too much money. I'd encourage him to shut the fuck up before he goes a little too far. We'll see what happens.
And I was just like, oh shit, you gonna talk to RZA like that? And then dude was like,
nigga, I sell drugs.
Like he really was flexing on RZA. And he went on to say a lot more stuff about, you know, RZA and just, you know, what he does and how real he is or whatever. But the strange thing about that, right after like that happened, this dude ends up getting arrested. So he gets arrested by the FBI, and now they're trying to pin charges on him for securities fraud from way back in the day. And it's just so funny. And I posted to the homies, I'm like, see, this is what happens when you fuck with RZA. You know how many people, you know how many FBI agents listen to Wu-Tang, Enter the 36 Chambers, Killer Bees? You know how many Wu-Tang Forever? You know how many people in this world? The president is off Wu-Tang. You don't fuck with Wu-Tang Clan, nigga. You don't fuck with the Shaolin monks, man. You don't fuck with them. And this is what your punk ass get, Mr. Shkreli. Now he looking at 20 years. But of course, you know, he gonna have one of those Pablo. He gonna go to Pablo prison. And then they probably not even gonna give him the full 20, of course. But this is crazy, man. You know, for his part, Shkreli's lawyer it's crazy how karma works and how things just transpire. I think he pissed off way too many people, just acting like, you know, he's above the law because he got money. He could just throw money at situations. And I think, you know, this shows that, yeah, money rules the world, but there's a way that you have to conduct business when you're rich and powerful. It's so important for the rich and powerful 1% to exercise some level of class and etiquette when, you know, dealing with, when just operating on a day-to-day basis. They can't, it's really frowned upon to get flamboyant and boisterous because of the fact that it just makes you look like you're just this inhumane son of a bitch, you know, which is exactly what it looked like. You know, he plays video games in his office, and, you know, he's 32 years old, he's young, and he doesn't have a care in the world. And he kind of like, he brags about his Armenian heritage and talks about how there's some crazy people, and, you know, it seems like this is turning into some weird, you know, Armenian thing because of Ghostface and Action Bronson's little spat that they had. But he was just like, you know, you really don't want to fuck with me because we make people disappear. And I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why are you trying to make these flat ass threats? Like you gonna kill RZA, or you gonna kill Ghostface, or you gonna kill anybody? Like, why are you acting like that? And I think everybody heard that. You know, I think people saw that and see that this dude is dangerous. You know what I'm saying? And they started investigating him, and they probably have been investigating him for a while. And it just so happened coincidentally that, you know, this whole thing, you know, came to a head around the time that he started popping off at the mouth. So, you know, he got arrested, and I think this is the icing on the cake. Now, a criminal lawyer representing Turing Pharmaceuticals has informed his client that now he's going to be raising his hourly legal fees by 5,000%. So now not only did he raise the price of this drug 5,000%, but now that he's in jail needing help, his lawyer is going to now raise his legal fees 5,000%. And so Shkreli, who reportedly received the news about the price hike while he was being fingerprinted, cried foul and accused his attorney of outrageous and inhumane price gouging. Says the motherfucker who raised a life-saving drug 5,000% and said that I'm in the business to make money. Now, who's the motherfucking inhumane sociopath, right? For his part, Shkreli's lawyer was unmoved by his client's complaint. He said, for his part, his lawyer was unmoved by his complaint. He said, compared to what he pays for an hour of Wu-Tang Clan, $60,000 is a bargain. That shit is hilarious. So yeah, man, I'm gonna end on that note. Karma's a bitch. Watch the energy and the things that you put into this world, because please believe they're gonna orbit back to you. Try to, you know. You definitely don't want to do, man. Let's go into 2016, man, on the right note, man. Let's start putting more positivity into the world. But I think that's definitely how karma works. Karma's a bitch, man. Thank you for listening this week to the Black Friday podcast. I'm your host, Tommy Bunnz. Give us some of that social currency, man. We're not asking for no physical currency. We just asking for the social currency. A like, a share, a comment. Tell some friends about what we're doing. Hit me up on Twitter at TommyBunnz1. Hit me up on Instagram at Tommy Bunnz. You know, like my Facebook page, Tommy Bunnz on Facebook. Like I said, we got a lot more things in the works. We working on a lot of new segments coming up. With some of the producers that I'm working with. I want to start bringing in some live guests, interviewing some artists. I got some real solid plans for the Black Friday podcast coming in 2016. I'm really excited about this, and I appreciate y'all for listening. It's the Black Friday podcast, man. I'm gonna leave y'all with some exclusive, unheard, unreleased Tommy Bunnz music. This joint right here is my shit. So, yeah, man, just go ahead and take a listen, man. Download it. Let me know what you think. Check me out on TommyBunnz.com. Read some of the articles that we got going up. Check the source material for all of the podcasts so you guys can stay informed with what's going on in this world, man. Like I said, let me know. Black Friday podcast. Peace and light. Tommy Bunnz. We out of here next week.
Teacher.
Gone. I'm about to swallow on this pill until I feel it's gone. Record my life to build a bridge to home and build at home. I split in half, now I quest the lesson stressing. Make a shitty track go off the chest while playing chess in. Think of many things I must invest a piece of self in. Swimming hella fast like I got self in. I'm selling yet I still envision selling myself just to sell a selfie. And if I'm lying, someone help me.
I slowly influence the outcome of my circumstance, and with my queen we do the perfect dance. My little lady is the perfect plant. It was for certain plan, but the curtains work to hurt the stance of the working man. To find the groove I do a certain chant, and with the right I see life's light inside of a cursor brand. Boy, it don't need a lance, let's just keep it gross. Trying to have it all, cause I am the mo. And get engulfed by the enigma in the palindrome. And feel alone inside the zone until your palate's grown. Papa's papa had it popping on the throne in Rome. Back to Attum, we've been added to the catacombs. Gravitate together in the cloud until we scatter tones. Shatter the limits, where the masters don't. So a winner's what I is until I'm skin and bones. Enter the overworld as king of kings for on and on. No, 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 no. Now I'm at the one again.